everyone, and welcome to New Charles the Podcast. I'm Preya.
And I'm Melanie.
And thank you for your patience with us as we enter 2026.
These chapters are long, as y'all know.
So it's now time to do a deep dive in a new chapter. Let's get into it. Okay, Melanie, question for you. This chapter introduces the National Junior High School Music Festival. Did your school have competitions for singing or playing an instrument?
Yeah, so we had choir competitions, and then, which I competed in. And then the only other thing I can think of that was kind of similar is God, what is it called? I don't know why I'm blanking all of a sudden, but it's like competition, but for theater kids, where like you pick a monologue and you do a monologue, or you pick I did like a serious monologue and then like a funny monologue, and then we would get judged on that. But the choir competition thing was a huge thing. Like we had our big choral one we would do with Destiny, which was our like all-girl choir. But then I also got selected for like individual solo for alto. So then I would do my alto solo. But my biggest story about that is right before the competition, our second soprano got sick that was going to do the competition. And no one else had the guts to kind of step into her position and do her competition solo. And even though I'm an alto, I can actually do like second soprano, and I can sort of get up to first if I really like slide into it. So I was like, whatever, I'm a senior. What do I have to lose? I'm just going to do it. So, and I'm really fast at memorizing. So I memorized her solo like literally the night before and then performed it the next day. Icon. It was fun. I think it was third place, I want to say. So not bad, especially for just having to memorize it the night before. So
yeah, that's fantastic. It's like, I know for a fact that sopranos usually are the ones that gets the more interesting parts, especially when compared to the altos. So I think it's fun that you got to wear some soprano shoes that night.
Yeah, because altos always, as you just said, we always usually get the short end of the stick,
pretty
or whatever
much
that saying is.
yes. So it's like soprano, alto, tenor, baritone, and I think that like the altos, they really get the they're like the runs.
Yeah. For instance, my little drummer boy, the Christmas song. So, the altos get "Come, they told me."
Sopranos.
Or sopranos.
Yes.
Whereas us altos had to go prom, pum, 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 and then the sopranos. Baby, prom, pum, pum.
Yes, you're proving my point.
How about your school?
So,
what did Canada do?
So the thing is, though, I don't remember any music or singing competitions because I didn't sing and I only played piano as a hobby. But one competition that I do remember my elementary school having and my high school having every year is public speaking. And I have absolutely no idea if I told this story on the podcast or not, but in the third grade, I did an oral presentation for public speaking, and not only was my oral selected as one of the tops in my class, but then I presented it against those selected to the other third grade classes, so I think there were 2 other classes, and then for some reason, I made it to the top 3. So even though I considered myself as painfully shy, I have an award that states that I won 3rd place in a 3rd grade level public speaking contest.
My girl.
Yeah, we're getting to the point of the podcast where I don't know if I'm recycling these stories or not.
The more you talked, it sort of sounded familiar, but I also don't know if you've just told me,
I definitely told you. The question is, was it on or off the pod?
Yeah.
Today we'll be discussing Chapter 46, Spinner of Cobwebs. The release date was August 2nd, 2003. Word count was 25,661 words, which is a little bit shorter than the previous chapter. We are in the month of October, and the gang is in the 9th grade. Time for the summary. Ariel was mesmerized with Tomoyo's singing while she was practicing for the junior high music festival. In turn, she was impressed with Ariel's piano playing. In the daycare at the hospital, Nina, the most spoiled girl, was causing havoc until Kai charmed her with his magic tricks and spellbounded the children with fairy tales. The Kaito Magician fan club attacked Miho's anti-Kaito article. Chihiro defended Kaito, while a slightly jealous Takashi condemned him. The fan club was furious until they saw Mikei's good looks and retreated. In the middle of the night, Syaoran climbed through Sakura's window to give her Wolfie-chan, who missed her. He was about to apologize when Sakura had to hide him under the covers before jumping in bed herself, since Toya was coming. The two fell asleep, with Syaoran using her lap as a pillow. He left with Wolfie-chan. At school, Ariel realized that he had to be on guard around Tomoyo since she was able to read his thoughts with ease. Sakura noted that Miho wasn't at school. After soccer, Syaoran warned Aaron to stay away from Sakura since he could either be playing with her or love her. Aaron commented on how Syaoran said that he would always protect her first. If he was a danger to her, he would leave. After asking Sakura to release the magician, Kai noted that the locket was gone and therefore in the hands of another. After Sakura left, Meilin ran her finger down Kai's neck to his surprise, and she noted he no longer had the necklace. Meilin told him that Mikei's proof was a silver locket with a ruby, but Kai told her he stole the locket. Meanwhile, Sakura and Syaoran talked about Kai, and Sakura admitted that inside Kai's locket she found a mirror and a picture of Mikei and Miho. Therefore, meeting Kai was the real Mikei, and the current Mikei was an imposter. Though she did not know why the Dark Force protected Miho, she said they would wait. At school, Miho ran off after a fight with Aki in journalism to everyone's surprise. When Naoko noticed beads were missing, Takashi and Ariel double-teamed on a lie. Later, Miho collapsed when Tomoyo and Ariel were practicing, and Kai was furious at Ariel for not taking better care of her. Mikei came when she was with the nurse. Back at practice, Tomoyo discovered that she could no longer sing. Ariel suggested that it was the side effects of the phantom. On Sunday, Sakura met with Aaron to ask him to stop hurting Miho, but he said he wanted pain for her family line as well, and Miho was not innocent. His dark side took over, leading him to physically abuse Sakura. When he snapped out of it, he was shocked to see her fear. On Sunday, Sakura met with Aaron to ask him to stop hurting Miho, but he said he wanted pain for her family line as well, and Miho was not innocent. His dark side took over, leading him to physically abuse Sakura. When he snapped out of it, he was shocked to see her fear as she ran off. At home, she used the cards and found out Mikei's identity was the fantasy and another dark force to make it seem human. Syaoran tried to get Meilin to come back, and after suggesting that maybe she's in love with Kai, he advised her to get over her childhood fantasies about the two of them when she mentioned it took time for her to get over their engagement. He advised her not to let opportunities slip by thinking of the past. His mother called him, and she was shocked when Syaoran insisted that he would stay in Japan even if it meant giving up his title as Chosen One. Kai was about to enter through the window, but after overhearing the Lee cousins, he thought about how he would choose freedom over personal ties. Kai saw Mikei and asked what he was. Mikei answered Miho's brother, and Kai asked then what was he. Mikei said that he is Kai and Mikei is him, though they are not each other. Though Kai had no relationship with Miho, he told Mikei not to harm the innocent. Finally, Erika called Aaron Erica called Aaron on how he fell in love with Sakura. She called her out. He called him out. She also said she pitied Miho for having fantasy go after her, but Aaron stated that she spun her own cobwebs. That was a journey.
You did it.
I did it, guys. I did it. So, the main reason we decided to take a break was to give Melanie the time to double back and overlay the sound effects for her chapters that happened during the great crash of 2025.
Yeah.
And as soon as you start listening to this chapter, there's Tomoyo's sweet, sweet voice. And I'm so glad that we didn't just disregard delicious sound and music cues and that makes this audiobook so immersive.
So all the flowers need to be sent to our friend in the NT community, and it's either Andrea or Andrea. I say Andrea because I say my A's weird, but I think it's Andrea. Andrea Ibarra, Ibarra. So everyone, please give her all the compliments in the world. You will hear the full version next chapter, but she did such an amazing job, and I owe her the world. She is such a perfect Tomeo voice, and I was so pleased with it.
How did you find her?
So when I posted during the Star-Crossed auditions in Syaoran, I put out a feeler. I was like, well, I know eventually I'm going to need a Tomeo voice. Is anyone interested? And so she had messaged me and was like, yeah, I'd be Tomeo. And I said, cool. I said, I'm slowly working my way through everything, but once I come upon a chapter where I'll need you, I'll let you know. And it was this one. This was the first one. So I messaged her, and then she got back to me, and yeah.
That's amazing. So I'm like, wow, I wonder what sound bank Melanie found that from.
No, fellow NT community. So yeah, everyone, we'll have to tag her on
Yes.
the post. But yeah, everyone, please give her all the compliments in the world. Otherwise, I was getting really nervous that I was going to have to step in and do it. And I was like, oh, I don't know.
Well, you've already showed off your chops and you're ready for the job.
Which she has not got back to me about some other chapters I needed her from. So who knows? I may have to step into it. But hopefully now that we're showering her with compliments, maybe she'll come back and help me out.
Yay. The opening scene is Ariel completely entranced with Tomoyo's singing voice. Then Tomoyo was smitten with Ariel's piano playing. You gave us some background about so she was singing. Our New Trials fan was singing, but did you give her a specific song to sing? Which piece did you use?
So it's the song Scarlet, which is what
yes.
been seen through the competition. So all I asked her, I was like, could you send me one file where it's just you singing, no piano? And then I asked her to send me a separate file where it's her singing again, but with a piano accompaniment. And I said, and if there's any way you can find it where it's just a piano, nothing else, I would love that to death. And so she did that. And then I borrowed Ariel's piano solo. Not from Shmation Shmaraz, but someone else.
I love this behind the scenes information. I'm living for it. The next scene opens with the reveal that Maylin was now living with Kai to give Syaoran his space. Maylin made Kai breakfast, which prompted him to propose, but he got a slap instead of a yes. At school, Sakura learned about Maylin's living situation, and she felt bad about what she said to Syaoran. She tried telepathy, but Syaoran blocked her until she called him a brat. Syaoran accepted her apology, so that was sweet, and he apologized too. But then he did shut her out when she asked about Maylin. I think as a recap, the last chapter ended with the big fight, and it was kind of messy.
Yeah, it was Sakura Didn't she say something really rude about his dad or something?
Yeah. I think it's something along the lines of how she doesn't trust him. Yes. Yes. So that's where we left off.
That's right.
At lunch, we learned that Tomoyo needed an accompanist, or else she was going to miss her shot at participating in the National Junior High School Music Festival. And that's when Sakura generously volunteers Ariel, and lucky for her, Ariel was going to offer her services. Don't you, like, sometimes you have a friend and you know that they're going to be game, but then you feel bad to ask them because, like, they're going to say yes, but you're like, oh, what if they have other things going on?
Yeah.
But I think in this case, Ariel was definitely, like, especially he needs a distraction with all of this, Miho drama.
Yeah, well, and I think he genuinely likes Tomeo.
Yes.
Not maybe that way yet, maybe. But I think he genuinely likes her as a person and wants to help her. And I think he also genuinely, like, loves her singing voice, too.
Yes.
So, I think he would have volunteered no matter what. And Errol, he loves to be included in everything. And
Yes,
he gets FOMO, and he's not.
That is very true. He likes to be like he thinks of himself as like the puppeteer, the person pulling all the strings. When the moment he gets freezed out, oh, that's it.
Mm-hmm.
After school, the gang volunteered at the hospital. Aaron calls Sakura out on being on the outs with Syaoran, and Erika blames Syaoran for Aaron and Sakura getting closer.
And I think this is kind of the first chapter where it kind of shows Sakura and Aaron's relationship, I think, getting a little bit closer. Or more friendship, or I don't know. What do you think?
So basically the turning point was the orphanage, when he opened up to her about his past. Mm-hmm. And this is what gave Sakura, like, the motivation to connect with him on, like, not just, like, you're my enemy, but it's like maybe we can work towards something that doesn't have to hurt everybody.
Yeah.
At the playroom, Miho and a 5-year-old get in a shouting match when Miho tries to save a doll from being scribbled on. And this is where we meet Nina and get her backstory on how her parents shoved her in the hospital because they're too busy.
Oh, Nina.
So, like...
Which I think she's made a brief appearance before now, I want to say, but I think this is the first time where we kind of dive into her backstory a little bit more.
It's hard to say because my summary calls her out, so it's true. If we did see a brat, it could have been her, but this is the one where she's actually named, and we have no idea about her parentage. So we know who her father is. And I think her mother is like a celebrity, so she's not around. I think that's what her mom's case is.
Yeah, she's like an actress that we meet in Arc 4, and she's a terrible human being.
Okay. You really gave it your all during the tantrum. That makes me... Yes.
I would say it's like I have a 6-year-old at home that I can base this behavior on.
Yeah, in my notes, I'm like, I wonder if you were inspired by your little one. Yeah, Felix is starting to get into that stage too. We were at like an IKEA distribution center, and then Cameron found these sunglasses and just popped them on him, and he was having the best time walking around, and it was time to go. So I took them out, put them on the shelf, and he's like, glasses! And it's like, no, those aren't yours. Okay, we gotta go now. Bye. So Miho completely loses her head, and this is just a reminder about how kids taking care of kids really isn't the best idea.
Yeah, 100%.
Kai swoops in with his magic tricks and saves the day. The way that Kai was placating Nina is definitely a callback on how Mikei used to coddle Miho when they were younger.
And I think, you'll probably talk about it here in a second, but Miho, I think, was kind of getting a little emotional hearing how he called Nina Heim and stuff, and getting a little jealous, even though I don't think she 100% knows why she feels jealous.
Well, look, it was her nickname first. And you know how, like, youngest children don't like to share.
It's true. It's true.
It's the next day at school, and Miho is showing off her beaded bracelet that her brother gifted her, and Chiharu is notably envious. Aki finally remembers Mikei from Itoku Elementary School. He tries to rack his brain to remember the little sister, but then gets sidetracked by the big fire, which was incredibly triggering. Rika bursted in to warn them that the Kaiju Magician fan club was going to protest against the Kaiju Magician hit piece. We read the article, and that's when we learned that Miho went rogue.
I freaking love everything about this scene. I love, voicing the KMFC. I loved, doing Miho's journalistic voice. I had so much fun with this scene.
Oh, these roles were so dramatic, and it's definitely out of the box of all the seriousness that the chapters usually offer. So it must have been a little fun little jaunt. Just when things were getting hairy, Mikei swooped into the rescue. When all the hubbub subsided, Sakura noticed that Syaoran wasn't at the meeting.
Which, do you remember where he is? Because he's disappeared a couple times this chapter, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember.
No, the last time he disappeared, he was at Riren's old house working on his drills. But now, I think he's just...
Oh, I just remembered. I remembered what it is.
Yay! What is it?
It's because he's... spoiler alert, possibly for next chapter, but he's practicing his violin solo.
That's true.
Because he's also in the competition.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Oh yes, hey look, no spoilers here. That's the beauty of this podcast.
We never know. That one nice viewer on YouTube gave us a shout out, so who knows how many new people we have.
At this point, if you haven't read New Trials, please read New Trials. We're going to talk about everything and anything. At night, Sakura was brooding over the fact that she and Syaoran have a knack of making each other mad, but she was too stubborn and proud to make amends quickly. Around 2 a.m., there was a tap on the window. She thought she was being attacked, but it was just Syaoran with Wolfie-chan under the guise that Wolfie-chan really missed her.
All us millennial girls' hearts of a boy climbing in through the window, a la Boy Meets World.
A la Clarissa, a la all of those 90s movies.
I love this scene.
Sakura threw some biting words at Syaoran, such as how he was too involved in his family business to pay attention to Wolfie-chan. Syaoran was the one who caved and apologized. And just as he was ready to open up, Toya overheard them and came in for a bed check. What is the boy sneaks into the room trope without the guardian coming and ruining everything?
Which Toya had to know.
Of course.
He had to know. So I'm just wondering, why do you think he let this slide?
Well, maybe he thought his visit would be enough to scare Syaoran off. He wasn't planning on having him spend the night.
Yeah, we're going to chop it up to med school tiredness.
Yeah. Syaoran hid underneath Sakura's bed and then she shooed her brother away. Everyone fell asleep. He was under her covers. Everyone fell asleep, and when Sakura woke up, she was sure that she was just dreaming until she saw the wolf boy and the wolf puppy. I really like the way Wish-chan worded it that way, wolf boy and wolf puppy. That was so cute.
So sweet.
Syaoran makes his way out, but not before he finds Syaoran bear. Sorry, yeah, the Sakura bear. No, hold on. She's got the Syaoran bear, yes. Okay, yeah. Much to Sakura's embarrassment. Before he leaves, Syaoran tells her about the letter and how he was not going back to Hong Kong, and that he actually apologized to Meilin. Then, to all of our surprise, Syaoran calls Wolfie Chen, who Sakura was more than ready to take care of. And that's when Sakura realized Wolfie Chen was just an excuse all along. That was super cute. We get a lovely Tomoyo and Ariel practice scene, where Ariel ends up opening up to Tomoyo about inheriting Chloe's skill, and that conversation reminded him that Tomoyo is a lot more perceptive than the average person. I really like the way that even in the canon, even in the manga, Tomoyo's like the only one that throws Ariel off guard.
Yeah, and I think that's what he likes about her.
Yes.
You know, because he doesn't just have to be on autopilot all the time. Like, he has to, like, really pay attention, you know? So I think there's many reasons why he likes her, which, in my opinion, I think it's a like, but I think that's just one of the many reasons is she keeps him on his toes, you know?
In class, Aaron made a show in front of everyone, including Syaoran, that he was indeed free for Sakura on Sunday. And it
I love how messy he is.
I know.
I love it.
Yeah, because just the way that it looked like he alluded to a date. And it's like, the way that he phrased it made it seem like a date.
Aaron is a messy queen, and I'm here for it.
Tomoyo then opens up to Sakura about how she believes Ariel knows the truth about Mikei. And I love it, because Ariel didn't have to say anything. Or he didn't say it exactly, but just his body language, his manner. She's able to read him like a book, and I love it.
Yeah.
After soccer practice, Syaoran warns Aaron to stay away from Sakura and says, "Even if I were a neutral onlooker, which I am not, I would think that your relationship with Sakura is a little unnatural. It can be either that you are playing with her for your amusement, or, like me, you love her." Excuse me, sir? You have no problem telling Aaron that you love Sakura, but you can't do that with the same with the girl that you say you love?
That's the big bad force. The communication.
I also picked up another interesting quote from the scene, which I kind of butchered in the summary, so I'm glad I pulled it out. "I can forsake my family for Sakura. Can you say the same? And if ever I find that I might bring harm upon Sakura because of my bloodline, I will offer the same advice to myself, to put her safety foremost and my heart's desire second." And I think this is like a really good explanation of why Syaoran had to ghost Sakura at the end of Arc 3. Not that she would have known.
Yeah. Yep, this is all another big foreshadow for the end of the... And then, for Arc 3.
Yeah, because even in Arc 4... it wasn't until there was that glimmer that he might get his magic back that his very first thought is like, I might get my magic back? I can go back to Sakura. Because, like, in his head, if he can't protect her, then he doesn't see his point, which is sad.
Yeah. And we'll get there in Arc 4, too, but I love that Kai just basically tells Sakura, he's like, Syaoran always has a purpose for everything he does. Do you think he would do something like that just to do something like that? And then I think that kind of also helps her realize the truth and stuff.
Yeah. Meilin invited Sakura over to Kai's place for the real Lee Clan tea. But Meilin didn't tell Sakura about Syaoran's Chosen One title she didn't tell her how the title would be stripped, since Syaoran didn't say anything himself. But at least
love how she went about that. She went about that like the most perfect way, because she was like, well, what do you know? You know, she didn't just immediately go like, yeah, oh my god, can you believe that the Lee clan just like stripped him of being the chosen one? Like, what the fuck? You know, like, you know, she could have did that, but instead she's like, so what did he tell you? What do you know?
she was very tactical. She was playing both sides.
Mm-hmm.
But at least Meilin told Sakura that it was her decision to stay with Kai instead of Syaoran's, even after he apologized, because it kind of looked like Syaoran kicked his cousin out of his house. So she just wanted to clear the air for that part there. In the end, Meilin felt that Kai needed someone to take care of him, which we know is true. After Sakura left, Kai called Meilin out for not telling her the truth about Syaoran's strip title. Meilin turned around and asked Kai about his missing necklace. And we get that really nice scene where she's trailing her finger down his neck and we're like, woo woo! And Kai is like, woo woo!
Kai's like, green light, green light, green light.
Meilin, oh my gosh. She was feeling guilty since he lost the locket while saving her. Then she came to the conclusion that Mickey was using Kai's lost locket as a proof of his identity. Now, even though I'm not tracking this whatsoever, I'm going to say that this is when Meilin realizes that Kai was Miho's long-lost brother, even though he gaslights her, like, later on.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to bring up. I think she maybe was starting to get suspicious, but I think this whole conversation, like, kind of just cemented everything, especially when she asked Miho, like, hey, what was the trinket that made you realize that he was your brother? And then it's the locket that... Yeah, and I don't think she's falling for his gaslighting. Like, even though I think Wish-chan wants us to believe Meilin did, but, like, we all know Meilin's a straight shooter. She's like, yeah, okay, sure.
Before going home, Sakura stopped by the park, and of course, Syaoran was just hovering to make sure she was safe. He warns her about Aaron, and that's some definite foreshadowing. They get in a debate of whether or not Sakura should put her guard up around the twins, and even though, for safety's sake, I totally side with Syaoran, Sakura only has her as many allies as she does because she's so open-hearted. So, like, yeah. Her kindness doesn't pay off in this chapter, but, like, it's still gonna be a turning point.
Yeah, which I have a theory. I'll talk about it once we get to that scene, but I do have a theory.
Yeah. Because it's like, yes, she's so... Like, Syaoran was terrible to her. He was, like, literally fighting her when they first met. And she had no reason to be as kind as she was to him. And now he's, like, her biggest ally. So, like, I see where her mindset's going, but this is just a different breed of villain.
Well, and I love, I think it's around this part, too, where Syaoran also says a line which I think is such a good line for us to, like, really understand and get in his head of, like, he loves that Sakura is so forgiving. He loves that Sakura is so kind. But now he's starting, like, he says the line of, like, but now I'm starting to wonder, is she like that to everybody? And I'm just not special? And I think I was like, finally we get to the root of his problem, you know, with everything. Because I think Sakura's whole thing was, you know, she didn't know if her and Syaoran would ever meet if they didn't have powers. That was her whole thing. That's what she was always, like, worried about. Whereas Syaoran's whole thing this whole time has been, like, am I special to her or am I not? Because she treats everyone this way. So I think that's why when everything gets all, you know, tied up with a little bow in Arc 4, that they're able to really move forward past everything because both of these fears have finally been squashed.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it. If we ever wondered when did Sakura find out the truth about Kai, this is the scene where she admits that she's actually known since the Tokyo trip, when they were on the train and she dropped the locket by accident. And this is when Syaoran realizes that the Tanaka Mikkei that's running around is indeed a fraud. We jump back to Melin and Kai, where Kai just bursts out of laughing at this theory. And then he takes it a step further and gaslights Melin into believing that he stole the locket.
Likely story, my guy. That's what I would tell him.
The thing is, though, he's not admitting to anything. So what more can Melin say? She threw her theory out, and he could either agree or lie, and it looks like he chose to lie. Even though he did promise that he wouldn't lie to her anymore. So Kai, you're not doing great. Miho is slipping on her responsibilities, favoring spending time with her brother rather than staying top of her articles. Aki has no sympathy. And to everyone's surprise, Miho blew up at him. She ran off, and things got super awkward. Sakura tried to go after her, but Kai was the one who pointed out that Miho was acting like a spoiled brat. Luckily, Takashi and Ariel tag team a story about beads, and that really helped lighten the mood. I thought it was cute how Chiharu was actually swept up with the story for once. It's like this opened up the tertiary storyline of the missing beads, but we'll just circle back to that later. We are in the auditorium with Tomoyo, Ariel, Sakura, Miho, and Kai. The piano in the background in this scene was such a lovely touch. But before we could really get into it, poor Miho collapsed. Kai's role as a big brother really flared up in this scene, calling out Ariel for not noticing that she was unwell to bring her to the nurse on his back.
Mm-hmm. True colors definitely came out here.
Yes. Mikkei came bursting in. It's like he has a tracker on Miho or something like that. It's like, it's never really explained how come he knows these things, as far as I know. And he said he will stay with her. The friends.
I think it's just because the fantasy that Miho has created about her brother, that's just something he would do. He would always be in tune to her needs.
Yes.
So I think that's why he's able to just pop up so gallantly, because that's what she wants.
Yeah, it says that's definitely his only purpose, that's for sure. The friends returned to the auditorium, and Tomoyo asked what we were all thinking. How the heck did Mikkei know that Miho fainted? But yes, I think it's definitely like she's tethered to the fantasy, so it's got to be signaling it that way. Tomoyo realizes that she can't sing, to everyone's shock, and this went on for days. Ariel told Sakura that he thinks it's a side effect of the Phantom, which really sucks because the Phantom was like so many chapters ago, and yet it has lingering side effects.
Which that's another thing I love about Wish-chan, is like she doesn't let things like that just get brushed under the rug. Like that would cause trauma for anybody, especially someone that doesn't have magical powers, and especially for someone that thought they had a good mental fortitude. So I just love that, like, you know, trauma just doesn't go away. Yeah. You know, so I love, this is just one of the many things I love about Wish-chan is, you know, she's like, yeah, hello, do you guys remember how Tomoyo is traumatized, you know? So I appreciate it. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm. It is Sunday, and Sakura is meeting with Aaron. Dun dun dun. He wanted to take her out to lunch, but she flat out used the opportunity to make him remember his promise of not hurting anyone. When he played dumb, she brought up Miho. And a really good line that foreshadows the fantasy is when he said he provided the sources and she conjured up the rest. Mm-hmm. We also get a flare-up of the Chang's hatred for the Mizuki line. Aaron was on a roll, and he also blamed Tomoyo for being too weak and succumbing to the Phantom. And this is where things take a very uncomfortable turn, and Aaron is physically abusing her, including smacking her against the pole. Now, I drew this fan art back in 2020 for the injured prompts drawing in a drawing challenge, but I had to stop the audio and message Melanie. Listening to your audio of this scene was more painful than drawing this fan art. The amount of loathing that you pour into his voice is really well done, and you nailed this scene.
Thank you. So I kind of put a little Easter egg in this scene because it's a theory that I have. So I kind of morphed Aaron's voice to sound more like Ryuichi. Because I think this is Ryuichi taking over and he was possessed. So this wasn't Aaron doing this to Sakura. That was Ryuichi. That was the dark one.
I love that theory, and it makes so much sense because it's like Aaron could be an ass, but it's like he would never do that to Sakura and his own free will. Because, and it's true, like, 'cause the way that you made his voice so dark, I definitely picked up on the change, but it's not until now that you realize, like, you're saying it's Ryuichi's voice that I'm making the connection. That's very, very good.
Thank you. Because I have always struggled with this scene in the past, because, you know, I am not about DV, I think, you know, I've always have struggled with this, because I'm like, how could Aaron do that to her, and how could Sakura just so easily forgive him? But it's really been this, like, or whatever, how many times I've reread this, but it's really been this time doing the audiobook that it finally kind of clicked to me, and us doing the deep dive podcast, where it finally clicked in my head. I was like, that's not Aaron, that was Ryuichi. That was the dark one. And especially, like, at the end of the scene, you can kind of see Aaron snapping out of the trance.
Yes.
And so that's how I'm able to kind of forgive Aaron and kind of move forward from this scene, because it's not him. It's not him. It was maybe his physical body, but that was not him.
I love your theory. I co-sign 100%. And then Aaron had the audacity of trying to kiss her, but it wasn't until he tasted her tears that he woke up from his rage, as your theory says. He apologized, but Sakura was terrified, was in no mood, ran off, did not look back. Run, girl, run.
And I don't know, Wishian mentioned something snapping in her back. I'm trying to think from a medical standpoint. I feel like it was either like a rib or maybe like her scapula, her like shoulder blade got like cracked or something. But like, I don't know if it's mentioned again. I know she mentions like the bruising and stuff on her back, but you know, if it is a broken scapula or a broken like rib bone, like there's really nothing you can do for it except just like let it heal anyways. But yeah, I was just like, geez, you have to get, like, she had to be getting, like, hammered into that pole. Like, ugh.
Well, that's the thing, because it's like, I'm just hoping that the crack isn't a broken bone in just, like, the sound effects of, like, her back hitting the pole itself without anything breaking, because, like, from then on, she like, covers her bruises with, like, turtlenecks and whatnot. But if there was an actual broken bone, she wouldn't have been able to, like, keep going without going to the hospital.
Yeah, well, I mean, technically you can with, like, a broken, like, as long as nothing's punctured, and with those type of broken bones, there really is nothing you can do. Like, sometimes, depending on if it's, like, a anterior rib, like one of these up at the front, sometimes you can wear, like, a brace, but, like, there's really not a whole lot you can do. And especially if it's just a little hairline fracture and not, like, a complete, like, full break, you know? So, I don't know.
Well, at home, Sakura just wants to control, alt-delete that entire interaction, and she distracts herself with doing a tarot reading with her cards.
Which I'm so proud that, like, she was finally like, you know what, none of these men are going to give me the answer, so I'm going to be a strong woman, and I'm going to figure this out myself.
Yes, she is a card mistress after all. The cards we get are the Mirror, the Illusion, the Create, the Twin, the Libra, the Dream, and the Phantom. The phantom is the counterpart or opposite, so this mysterious force is preying on hopes and dreams rather than pain and fear. Sakura realizes that she's dealing with the fantasy and another dark force, which is what the twin was telling her. And then we get a mention of the Dark Force scroll. That's where Sakura read about the fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Next, we are with Syaoran, who is begging Melin to come back to live with him, but she's still being stubborn. He accuses her of being in love with Kai, but Melin said that she was still getting over her broken engagement. And it gave her a moment to collect her feelings and made her realize that her feelings for Syaoran has definitely changed. But that's when Syaoran tried to screen a call from his mother, but Melin intercepted and forced him to take it. I think that was like her little revenge. This is when Yelan learned that Syaoran was not coming back. And I felt bad for her because she worked really hard to get him that second chance, and there he is just blowing it. Even though Kai wasn't home, he still overheard Lee's cousin's conversation at the window. He left and he ended up running into Mikei. Now this scene is absolutely delicious, as it's the closest that we get to Kai admitting his identity with his "then who am I" comeback when the Force calls himself Miho's brother.
Such a good scene.
Yeah. The chapter ends with the Chang twins. Erica notices that Aaron was shelved when he came home, but he collected himself. She calls him out on falling in love with Sakura, who was aghast when he admitted it. Just imagine being the sister. "Oh yeah, you like this person, huh?" And then the guy's like, "What if I do?" And she's like, "That's not how I saw it happening." Yep. And then Erica, of all people, told Aaron that setting the fantasy on Miho was cruel. But that's because she had been in that vulnerable position herself. Aaron remembers Sakura asking him to promise not to hurt people, but he can't hold himself up to that request. Okay, Dark Force's corner. Aaron is a lot more candid about being a Dark One, and a line that really speaks to Melanie and I harping about how SNS don't communicate is after Sakura asks Aaron if this happens after Sakura asked Aaron if her cold shoulder towards Syaoran was noticeable, and he says, "Not really," Aaron replied smugly. "I just notice all the things involving you, though. You know, the reason I haven't sent one of those evil little emotional dark forces to tear your relationship apart yet is because you two get into enough fights without me meddling."
Preach it from the choir, Aaron.
We get Wolfie-chan in this chapter. I'm sure I've left him out in other Dark Force Corner segments in the past because he really does seem like a real dog rather than the wolf card.
Yeah.
I think this is just Wish-chan's way of like reminding us of the wolf card for what happens later on in the arc. When Sakura was visiting Melin, Kai casually asks her to call out the magician just to see if the locket was there. It wasn't, and it made him conclude that it's just with somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
The Phantom gets a mention in this chapter. It may have been captured, but the after effects are still present. We get a tarot card reading with the Sakura cards. I really love how it's not just the OG Sakura cards, but also one from the new batch.
And then, are you gonna break down how Takashi's story with the beads is basically a one big foreshadowing to the fantasy chapter?
You know what? I don't think in this chapter, like, weren't they talking about how it was like monetization, like beads equaled money? Because
No, he does like a little story about how like he talks about like the Arrow of Darkness and how there was like it's when no, not Takashi, it's the story that Kai was telling the little kids in the playroom.
oh, okay, no, that in this chapter or another chapter in this.
It was this one.
Okay.
It was this one.
No.
Yeah, because I bring it up now because the fantasy is a dark force, but it's very telling because Miho is in that room when Kai is telling the story to all these kids and stuff to calm them down, and basically the story he tells is what is the entire plot of the fantasy chapter for when we get there.
Yeah, I'm not there yet, so I completely forgot. So I'm really glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
Fan art spotlight. When Sakura woke up after Syaoran and Wolfie Chan's visit, she thought they made a cute picture. And apparently so did I, since I drew this exact scene 5.5 years ago in 2020. I may have forgotten, but Melanie didn't, because she insisted that there was a Sleeping with Syaoran and Wolfie Chan fan art, and I told her that I couldn't think of any drawings by other artists. Clearly I forgot to include myself.
Everyone get a lottery ticket. Melanie was right. Preya was right. I'm never going to let her live this down. I might get it on matching t-shirts and have us wear it when she comes to Kansas.
Don't you dare. So now it's time for the author's notes.
All right. So we have Wish Chant. Chapter 46 and 47 were actually one long chapter, but I ended up dividing it into two. But actually, they can be seen more like a part A and a part B kind of chapter, which she continues on with in Arc 4. It took me a week to divide this into two chapters, and it was so hard to come up with titles. I've looked back at some of my previous titles and realized how corny some of them were, but I do like some of them quite a lot. Do people prefer poetic titles or titles describing the chapter? Just wondering.
I like the poetic ones.
I tend to like ones that it's like this chapter where it's just a little throwaway line that's like somewhere in the chapter. So it's kind of like a little Easter egg you're looking for while you're reading the chapter.
Yeah.
Yeah, the poetic ones are good too. Chapter 46 was pretty uneventful, huh? It's just the stage for building tension and moves really slowly. Do I sense more E and T in the air? Is there anyone rooting for Aaron and Sakura by any chance? Just curious. I've heard a few. Not these two, girl. I like Aaron, by the way. Erika, too. I like all my characters. Well, foreshadowing. Move right on to the next chapter. That's where the action begins. As I said before, it was supposed to happen all in one chapter, but it turned out to be too long. All comments are welcome and cherished. I read and savor each email I receive. I mean, how else would I have sustained this massive novel I'm writing? And thank you for those who signed my guest book. And also I enjoy all the reviews on fanfiction. And then she thanked Digi Dynasty again, who posted up Fix there initially, but now our Amethyst beloved, who's posting up the rest. We all know her. Anyway, that is it.
You've been listening to New Trials the podcast, where it must rain for there to be a rainbow.
You have been listening to New Trials the podcast. Please be sure to check out the audiobook version of this fanfiction that you can find anywhere that you can find this fanfiction. Also, please be sure to check out the Facebook fan page for New Trials, where a big part of the discussions happen nowadays. And be sure to stick around next time when we discuss Chapter 47, Shredded Fantasy.